Good afternoon, everyone. Um, as is typical of all of us, I was looking at the presentations and I was also chatting with my wife. And I told her that there are a lot of sexy presentations happening before me. So she said, honey, don't worry. Get on the stage, nobody's going to expect it from you. Um, well, I don't know whether it qualifies for trolling. My name is Amin. I represent a small company called A&E Design based out of Delhi. We've been an A&E company for the last 15 years. We moved to Revit and then onwards to the idea of BIM about 5 years ago. And we've found some little success in India as well as globally. Most of the presenters before me have been speaking about the back end of work in terms of how BIM helps and how to get things done, etc. Excellent presentations, great ideas. I thought maybe we could also look at the front end of things and how the idea of BIM actually affects work happening in various places, and third world economies or developing economies are of particular interest to us because we belong there, and we've also found success in other economies. This is a picture of a city that we work in and I like very much. It's on the western coast of Africa in Nigeria, a city called Lagos. Clearly you guys live in Bangalore, you're not impressed. On this city, we have a small project which is on the Atlantic Ocean. This was a local developer who had a vision of a live-work place, sort of an idea. They had an existing event center which gets a footfall of about 30 to 40,000 people every week for events. And they wanted this to be a sort of a microcosmic urban model where people could live, work, entertain themselves. The interesting thing that happened was that when they came to us, they actually came to us to develop their engineering drawings and not the design. The design had been done by somebody else. And when we went back and asked them on how they were going to phase themselves, they said, oh, it's very easy. We've got this event center. We've got 40,000 people coming here. And we're going to build 3 high-rise buildings, and it's going to be so much better. And we said, okay, wonderful. While you're building these high-rise buildings, what's going to happen to the event center? Where are you going to park? How are people going to come in? And that set them thinking, saying, oh, well, nobody really thought about it. So we changed the design for them, and we went a step ahead. And this was largely driven from the fact, like I said, our interest in developing economies. So we must understand that while we talk about all these big numbers of billions of dollars and millions of dollars worth in revenue and so on and so forth, a couple of very interesting things have emerged in our practice over the last few years. Number one, the buying power of our customers remains different in different countries. So while we may express our budgets in millions or billions of dollars, our buying or purchasing power remains in Indian rupees or Naira or whatever you're working in. In this particular case, a Naira can buy you 20 paisa worth of stuff. So whatever we get today in India for 1 rupee, they would get a fifth of it. And therefore, you need to be 5 times more conscious of the money or specification that you give to these buildings so that they're actually affordable, irrespective of what currency you're referring them to in. The second interesting thing is that whether it is India, Dubai, or Nigeria, fundamental construction costs per square meter expressed in dollar terms are more or less the same, but the quality is different. So when you go to Dubai, or you go to any of these economies and you walk into a very simple car park or a simple shopping center in a local neighborhood, the quality that you see is much higher than what you would probably see in India, and definitely you don't see it in Nigeria. And when you start looking back at those things, the idea and concept and design and space management, services, standards, everything is pretty much the same. At the back end, we can design a beautiful BIM building. We can have all the things clash resolved. We can have everything nicely coordinated. When it comes to the contractor buying stuff from the market and fitting it in is where the problem starts. This economy is way behind us. They're probably 20 years behind us. It's a complete import economy. So except for being able to make cement and cast concrete on site, they pretty much import everything from China, from Middle East, from India, and so on and so forth. So when we started working with them, we obviously went back to the idea of design and how it would work, but more importantly, we went back to them and looked at optimizing the numbers, looking at the revenue that they could get from various kinds of rentals, commercial rentals, residential sales, office rentals, and so on and so forth. And we looked at the kind of companies that would be able to support them to build this and how this would be phased. And as you see the presentation, you will see that a lot of our design decisions were taken on the basis of small companies that we would help to industrialize They would then provide the input for all of these buildings, including the facade systems, the flooring tiles, elevators and escalators, railing systems, doors and windows, all of them locally sourced, but allowing the quality to be improved and maintained at the level that we wanted them to, because they are all then working on the BIM model that we had created and working on the standards that were created on the BIM model done by our company. This is the phasing of this building. There's a little counter on the right-hand side, which is the car park counter, which tells you that where we started and what we did. So as a design concept, we enclosed the space to make a sort of a marketplace and a place that you could enjoy with families. A little snippet into this city. Again, it's a very, very crime-prone city. I don't know if any of you have had the opportunity of traveling in Africa, but Africa, when you travel through cities, are not like ours. When you drive on a road in Bangalore or in New Delhi, you see shops, you see establishments, you see people walking around doing whatever they want to do. In Africa, you lock your car and you drive a length of boundary walls. So you may have a mall which has a boundary wall, an office which has a boundary wall, a school which has a boundary wall, an armed guard standing all over there. They don't have the luxury of urban space. So the first thing we did was to create an urban space by enclosing the shopping precinct, and then phasing out the event center outside, and then building the multi-story buildings that need to come in. And these multi-story buildings, again, are world standard. For example, there is a 260-key hotel over here, which is being built by Marriott. And then last to go in was the office, because it's an overprovided market. That's another view from how it would be. These are ground coverages, et cetera, technical data in terms of built-up areas, and how the material management was done to create this building. This is how typically a market over there would look. This is something that is recognizable to us here as well. I don't know the local market names in Bangalore, but in Delhi, you would go to Lajpat Nagar or Karol Bagh, it would look like this. This is what we designed for them. And every single element that you see on the facade, whether it is the glass, whether it is the colored glasses, the louvers that you see, everything was indigenously manufactured in that country by setting up factories that specifically did this. It's creating a language of architecture in that area. People are now using it locally also. But the businesses were encouraged to set up because they were given the guarantee that a certain volume of business would come their way from this project. This is typically the BIM model that any of us professionals would create and how the things are. And this is what it got finished as. So all the cladding comes from local timbers. The glass was done locally. The aluminum sections were imported but fabricated locally. The glazing sections that you see at the bottom were fabricated locally. All the stamped concrete was done locally. And these are a few pictures of a couple of weeks ago. It's still not open, but it's almost finished. And it looks like this. Interestingly, because of the social impact and the social aspect of how this project was built, Google now wants to shift their office here. So Google Africa's headquarters are now going to be located on the floor that, this is my team over there, and you can see the Atlantic Ocean in the background. It's a great validation of the fact that this idea of BIM helps communication. And we may, as professionals, people under pressure, working in offices, look at the communication that would happen between architects, engineers, site contractors. But I believe through this project, as we have demonstrated, this communication goes way, way beyond. It becomes a social communication and tool of economic empowerment. Here we have details given out for everything in 3D. Whether a person is great at reading drawings or not, he can read 3D, he can read pictures. And the developer of the place goes out to the market and encourages his countrymen to set up factories, little small establishments, employing 20 people, 30 people, to fabricate the stuff that he wants to get done. I mean, if you see again, this is more or less conventional construction. There is nothing remarkably new, but the value that's been created in that city is huge. There are now 7 new factories that have been set up, which are making facade elements, doors, windows, ventilation systems, and glazing systems locally, which they were completely importing till 2 years ago. They've got obviously a lot of business beyond this. A few more images. I'm really looking forward to Christmas this year, when this would be rocking and there would be people actually and families using this. This is the next phase of the development. So on the left is the Marriott Hotel, and the right is the residential apartments. If you see the Marriott and the residential apartments, and these apartments are expensive. These are sea-facing, $1 million plus kind of residences. But the facade systems and the finishing systems are going to come from the same factories that was set up for the first phase of the project. Nothing, again, is being imported. And we are sitting here in Delhi making all our BIM models, making the sections, making the detailed drawings, mailing them across to them, and they are able to plan their fabrication and their machine utilization depending upon how the project is going to grow. Just a couple of other views. This is the kind of drawings that we were sending to them. They were able to prefabricate ducts, prefabricate facade elements, prefabricate pumping, tanks, tanking systems, staircases, ladders, railings, bring them to the site, and pretty much, I mean, there were a few hairy moments, but more or less, pretty much they were able to do everything. There's a small video, which is for the next phase. Thank you very much. As we say, there are 100 smart cities using this technology, and all of us together as an industry, may 1,000 factories bloom. Thank you very much.